Hey guys, welcome back to the Emlyn in the Mix podcast, season 3, episode 31. Wow, we're moving along the year here. We got some exciting news for you today in the world of music technology. If you're new to the podcast, what is this podcast about? Music gear, recording gear, studio gear, music hardware and software, you name it, anything to do with creating music technology wise, then you've come to the right place. You'll love this podcast. And if you're a regular listener to the podcast, thank you so much for joining me week to week. Support link down below if you want to do that. It is freaking freezing here today. And this last week, I got the big C. Yes, that's right. I've had COVID this last week, but actually I'm feeling a lot better right now. And rain or shine, I'm here for you to do the podcast. Anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to get stuck into it because I'm freezing today. It's actually really cold, so we're just going to get this podcast done and dusted for you guys so you have all the news that you need for this week. But what has been happening out there? It seems to have been quiet, doesn't it? Well, I've been looking around and I've found what I think is special and what you should definitely check out this week. So let's get stuck into it. So the first one here is Waves Factory. They actually have a 50% off deal going at the moment on their plugins. Now, if you haven't heard of Waves Factory before, they're a boutique. They make some really nice boutique plugins, very high quality sounding plugins actually. From the wave spacer to you've got the cassette tape, which is a phenomenal sounding cassette tape emulation plugin. But just really, all in all, just really fun creative effects. If you have a look here, if you're watching us here on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. #subscribe. You're probably watching this thinking, why aren't you talking about the Misha? Because the Misha, hardware. We had hardware drop this week. Can you believe it? And we're going to talk about that, Misha. We're going to talk about it briefly. I know there's many YouTubers already talked about it, but that is going to be in the title of this podcast, of course. But before you skip along to that, don't do that. There's specials and there's some cool stuff to talk about. So what do we have here? We've got the track spacer. I think I called it something else then. You've got quantum. You've got cassette, which I love cassette. So basically cassette, you can use it as a plugin and you can emulate different types of sounding cassettes over your audio, and it just sounds really cool. They've also got Echo Cat and they've got Spectra. Echo Cat, of course, being a delay, a tape delay, tape echo. And Spectra is an equalizer type thing. Actually, Quantum is good. We did check it out here on the channel as well. Very interesting plugins indeed. Again, very boutique, but they have them at 50% off at the moment. So I thought it was worth a mention. And I know there's still some sort of summary deals going on out there. So I thought I'd just quickly pop them in this podcast today because there's actually some really good ones out there, including this next one. Actually, not this next one, but the one after this. But before we get to that, if you haven't heard of this, Bob Moog Foundation, the Moogseum is having a Minimoog raffle. Now, I've entered this and I want you to enter this because the money that goes towards this Bob Moog Foundation is actually really cool because it's used to help those who are underprivileged, who perhaps can't afford to make a studio or have the money to make music, and they actually help the underprivileged be able to make music with this money that's generated for the Bob Moog Foundation. It's $25 a ticket, or you can buy more if you want to. They have a sliding scale. If you buy more tickets, the price goes down, that sort of thing. Anyway, what is up for grabs though in this raffle? So not only are you supporting a good cause, but check this out. So the Bob Moog Foundation is thrilled to announce their summer 2022 raffle for a fully restored vintage Minimoog synthesizer. And get this, signed by legend Billy Joel. The Minimoog was owned and played by David Rosenthal, butchering that name I'm sure, during his time with the supergroup Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. Rosenthal has been the keyboardist and musical director for Billy Joel for nearly 30 years, and the Minimoog comes with its original heavy-duty touring road case. And featuring Minimoog serial number is 8486, which was built at Moog Music's Williamsville, New York factory. Its final inspection date is the 17th of Jan 1977, and it has an estimated value of $10,000. The Minimoog has been modified with a ribbon controller for the pitch, as well as the customary modulation wheel similarly to the Minimoog left-hand controller, which Rothenthal, I'm sorry, I'm butchering his name every time I say it, had installed when he was touring with the synthesizer, and the original left-hand controller with modulation and pitch wheels has been preserved and will be provided to the winner of the Minimoog should they decide to revert back to the original configuration. So check this out. The Minimoog was updated in the early 1980s with version 3 oscillators, or 3 oscillators, which are known for providing stable, rock-solid tuning. So you could win this, and if you are watching us here on YouTube, check this out. Look, there is the legendary, I'll zoom in a bit. I cannot believe this. This is Billy Joel, and he's there, and he's signed it. Actually, I think there's a picture of him actually signing it. Let's have a look. There you go. He's signed the back of this. So imagine if you won this and you told your friends, I've got a Minimoog from the 70s, and it has Billy Joel's signature on it. That is absolutely hilarious. Anyway, if I win it, I'm going to be showing it off to you guys. Not to make you jealous or anything, but I'm going to share it with you guys, okay? Through the YouTubes, as we do. Anyway, I want you guys to enter this. I think it goes to a good cause, and it's such an awesome prize to win. Now, getting back to sales, we jump over here. Universal Audio, I've got an incredible deal. Actually, on their Ultimate Bundle, they've got up to 75% off. So I thought this was worth mentioning. Most of the plugins are up to 50% off. If you like the Universal Audio plugins, or you have their sound cards like an Apollo, and you want to, up your arsenal, of plugins, get more plugins basically, then they're going bonkers right now. This is something that's like, for example, this UAD2 Ultimate Bundle, the Ultimate 10, is 75% off. I saw this, caught my eye, because this is nuts. Because if you think about how expensive these bloody Ultimate plugins are from Ultimate 10, and it's only, I know it sounds expensive, but check this out. So you get 62 plugins for $999. Now, no, we don't condone spending large sums of money here on the Emlyn in the Mix podcast, but this one here is, if you've been just wanting the whole kit and caboodle for Universal Audio, this would be my recommendation on how you do it. 62 plugins, and it's only $1,000. You get everything, right? And it's Universal Audio, so you're getting the top of the top of the notchy, top of the castle, whatever you want to call it. Notchy, I'm totally out of it, aren't I? The Ultimate 10 bundle features over 100 UAD plugins with top sellers from Neve, API, SSL, Fender, Ampex, Fairchild, Helios, and more. And the plugin suites includes every UA developed title in the UAD library for a fully stocked, authentic analog studio at huge savings. So you can record and mix with every UA developed plugin with titles from Neve, API, Ampex, SSL, and more. Add instant out-of-the-box analog sounds to your in-the-box mixers and transform your DAW into a virtual analog studio with over 100 plugins at huge savings. Thought it was worth a mention. Again, don't condone spending the big dollars here, but if it's something this good, we're talking 62 plugins. I mean, what does that work out to be? I mean, what is that? It's like $10 a plugin or something, or less. Anyway, you get the drill. It's crazy. Because considering when one of these plugins is like $200, usually. All right, so that's deals. That's deals. 2 massive deals out of the way, and a raffle. What more could I be bringing to you guys today, honestly? Keep you inspired in the studio. That's right. Win that Minimoog. You got to win that Minimoog. All right, next one here comes to us from Native Instruments, and it's their expansion drop number 5 is here as part of their summer sales that keep going on. Link down below, affiliate link down below for this one if you want to go out and grab it. But essentially, they've got these 3, which I'd never heard of, these 3 Massive X expansions. 49 Australian dollars, which is about 29 USD. It is insane, okay? Or you can grab Massive X for $80, which is probably 50 bucks. I'm translating into US dollars for you guys because I actually don't have it up here on the screen, but I'm guessing it's probably 49 US dollars for Massive X, right? 50 bucks. And you get the 3 expansions for free. So what are these 3 expansions, you ask? Well, there is Wake, Fade, and Kino. Now, I've never heard any of these expansions. Don't really know much about them, but I do have a nice little demo here for you guys. So here we go. From cinematic sound effects in Kino to intense rave energy from Wake. Actually, I might have heard the Wake one before. And sparkling soundscapes from Fade. Save on a trio of expansions with this drop number 5. And whether you're upgrading from Massive or completely new to our flagship synth, for 80 bucks until August the 9th, they'll throw in the last drop for free. So they're going to throw in those free expansions. Let's have a quick listen to Fade. I like this second demo. Let's listen to this one. Lush reverb drenched soundscapes. Fade. Nice and chilled indeed. So that's just one of the expansions. Thought this was a nice little drop. I'm going to have a link down below, affiliate link if you want to go out and grab those. You like that sort of early, I guess that's sort of like a 90s sort of rave, paddy, piano sort of preset packs. They're all like that. I mean, yeah, Kino and Wake. Wake's been a bit more hardcore, apocalyptic synth presets, and then Kino's the more eerie drone, sinister rises, that sort of thing. But I think it's pretty cool, and you get 3 here for that price. Nuts, bonkers. Link down below if you are interested in getting it and you want to support the channel as well. Affiliate link. All right, next we have Audio Thang. I like to call it. It's not Audio Thang. They should have called it Audio Thang. Should have just put an A instead of I, because that is a funnier name. But I guess maybe they weren't going for that. Anyway, Audio Thing have released Fog Convolver 2. What is Fog Convolver 2? It is a true stereo convolution. Fog Convolver 2 is a true stereo convolution reverb processor plugin, and a new version has been written and redesigned from scratch, and now features modulation effects, an impulse response generator, and a lot of improvements. And you can now load 2 separate impulse responses or one true stereo quad channel impulse response, and have separate or linked controls for both. There are 5 different routing modes to arrange the impulses: single, serial, parallel mix, and true stereo, and each impulse can have 2 LFOs and 10 waveforms and 18 destinations and dedicated multi-mode filter with pre-IR or post modes and a 5-band graphic EQ. Fog Convolver features 8 factory banks with more than 660 impulse responses made from spaces, analog and digital equipment, organic sources, and more. Fog Convolver 2, Creative Convolver Reverb by Audio Thang. I don't know if this video is super long. Let's have a look. Yeah, it is super long. We're not going to play that back there, but you've got easy drag and drop. You can easily load any audio file, WAV or AIFF into Fog Convolver with a simple drag and drop, or by using the built-in browser. If you drag 2 files, they will be assigned to IR1 and IR2. And you got true stereo impulses are usually recorded simultaneously to capture a better stereo image, but you can also use 2 unrelated IRs to create experimental stereo reverb. So you could have different samples on each track, more or less. That's pretty cool. Impulse generator. If you don't want to use any previous impulse responses or samples, you can use the built-in impulse response generator to create your own artificial spaces. And you got 8 banks, you got craft spaces, reverbs of all kinds from early digital effect processors to real spaces including noise sources from vintage synths. You got old times, impulse response from old public domain recordings divided into four categories: 78 RPM, NASA radio, and wax cylinders. Most of the samples come from the Internet Archives. Organic compounds, open air. Polarity is custom impulse responses made by Bitwig Guru Polarity using white noise, direct samples, granulators, and many modulators. Test equipments, vintage mics, and unusual. They've even got an unusual here. As the name implies, all kinds of objects, instruments, electronics, and organic samples used to create spaces, echoes, drones, and unique tones. Now that's what's cool about convolution reverb, is that it bases itself on samples that you've fed into the actual, or just samples. It will make a reverb based on that. And in this case, what you've fed into, you can feed into it, or you can use the onboard presets. But definitely worth checking out. It's a creative convolution reverb and looks really cool. I guess we want to hear a demo of it here, but we haven't got one. Unfortunately, we've only got this really long video, which I don't want to play back here on the podcast, but go check it out if that's something that interests you. Need a new convolution reverb, then this is the one to go and check out. All right, moving along to our next piece of news here, comes to us from Waves, and they have dropped the Waves Harmony. Now, what is Waves Harmony, you ask? Didn't Waves already have a Harmony plugin? Yes, I believe they did. I think it was Harmony X or something like that. And it can do a lot of the features that this new Waves Harmony can do. However, I gotta say, the GUI looks much nicer on this new plugin. Of course, it is promoted and marketed towards a newer generation of musicians and music makers. So anyway, what is it? It's a real-time vocal harmony playground. Time to introduce harmony to your music, and it's that simple. This is coming from Waves, of course. Create instant vocal harmonies up to 8 voices generated from single voice, and quickly craft your dream vocal production. Easily personalize the character and texture of each voice with built-in pitch, format, panning, delay, filtering, drag and drop modulation, and backup vocal leads with creative color. Take a solo vocal and immediately surround it with epic multi-part harmonies, spreading among low and high, male and female. Yes, you can transform your voice. Light and heavy in seconds. Audition Kanye, Jacob Collier, Ty Dolla $ign, and Imogen Heap style sounds in your songs. Better yet, perform them in real time. And don't know musical theory? A selection of chord presets will supply you with beautiful and musically rich results on your vocal material with surprising voicings you may have not thought about yet. Producing a complex vocal arrangement save hours of comping, editing, tuning, and additional takes. Just draw in the voices and automate snapshots to move with the song. And performing live MIDI control lets you play backing vocals on stage in real time. Waves Harmony gives you 3 choices of workflow, so whether you're a producer, songwriter, or engineer or composer, it's easily adaptable to your creative process. So you got automatic mode to have the plugin instantly create harmonies on any vocal. Simply scroll through a versatile bank of chord presets and pick what you like. The easiest way to generate harmonies if you're not sure where to go. And you got a playable MIDI mode, so you can connect MIDI keyboards, play notes or chords in real time to harmonize your voice. And once you set the key and scale, everything you play will sound very musical. You got a graphical mode. Click to draw in harmonies on the visual display. Arrange, tune, shift, format, delay, filter and pan, then adjust per song section using snapshots. And Harmony creates drama to suit a multitude of musical genres: pop, hip-hop, R&B, rock, country, folk, and many more. Beyond harmonies, Waves Harmony is a powerful vocal effects palette. In any production or mix, efficiently layer thick vocal stacks and create exceptional doubling effects, as well as complex delay, arrays, creative voicing, modulation, melodies, sequencing, and more. It also comes jam-packed with 450 plugin presets. That's a lot to get your ideas flowing. So it's a real-time voice harmony plugin, instant generation of up to 8 voices from a single voice, adjust pitch, format, panning, delay, filtering, modulation of each voice, 3 workflow modes, automatic harmonies, MIDI control, graphical mode, perfect for the studio and performing on stage, and powerful vocal effects playground for harmonizing, doubling, layers, and modulation effects, including more than 450 factory and artist presets. Let's have a quick watch of the introduction video here. From Waves. Here we go.
Don't think twice. You wanna try to taste that spice. Oh baby, you make me go crazy. I never felt like this. Feel it in your kiss. So I have to know, can you love me, hold me, never let me go? Can you trust me, last me, be without ego? I will promise always to be there if you can be for me.
Good demo. Sounds good in that demo. You can really hear it at work, you know, spreading out 8 voices. And you can see also in that video the modulation there, kicking in, an LFO kicking in there on her voice, just give it a sort of wobbling effect. But anyway, go check it out. That sounds, I mean, oh my gosh, Waves, what are you doing? I mean, their plugins are so cheap at the moment, like especially when they did his intro prices, $39. That is nuts, actually. I'm going to have to check that out. It actually sounds really cool. And if you do a lot of vocals and, you know, you want to make it easy on yourself, this is probably the way to do it. Like, if you can't be bothered, you know, putting on some double voice and pitching it up and down or whatever you want to do. I mean, this is going to make it a lot easier for you, all jokes aside. All right, let's look at our last piece of news here. It was a hardware drop, came from Eventide. I know there's already YouTubers that have covered, they've played with this, they've had their hands on it. YouTube beta testers and big YouTubers alike. Your Andrew Huangs, I'm looking at you. And your Lou Pops and all those guys, they've already had it. They've had it in their hands. You want to get a full in-depth. You know, we're not really, like on Emlyn in the Mix, we just show you what's out there. We don't necessarily go deep diving into every single little thing, especially on this podcast. I mean, on the Emlyn in the Mix YouTube channel, when I do get my chance to look at a certain thing, I will, of course, do a little overview. But in this podcast, we quickly skim through. So if you want to deep dive on this, then definitely go check out those videos. However, stay with me here because what is it? What is this hardware drop? It is Misha. And what is Misha? Well, this is for you Eurorack fanatics, of course. You're going to love this. But even if you're not a Eurorack person, I think you're going to love this because I could actually see how I don't have any Eurorack. I didn't go down that rabbit hole. I'm just too worried that it will just become this never-ending money pit. And I just couldn't see, I mean, I couldn't see the appeal when you can have pretty much everything in the box these days, and emulation's sounding so good that I just didn't go down that rabbit hole. But I can see the appeal of it, especially with this Misha Eurorack. And what is it? Okay, good. Sorry, I'll shut up. What is Misha? Let's find out. So Misha is an interval based instrument and sequencer for Eurorack. That sounds pretty simple. So Misha, an innovative Eurorack instrument sequencer that utilizes a unique interval-based approach to playing and creating melodies. It's designed to be played like a keyboard instrument, and yet it makes music in a way unlike any other instrument before it. In addition to playing it live, you can also record sequences that can be modified in a multitude of ways, allowing for new paths of spontaneous creativity. So if we have a look here, there it is there, the Misha by Eventide. And I think we can play this little video back here. We can have a listen to it. Here we go. It's an introduction to Misha by Eventide. A new way to make music. How nice is that? That little sequence you heard in the background is actually Misha triggering off notes, randomly, or not even randomly. It actually had a sequence going, an actual sequence that sounded quite lovely. And I can see why, as I was trying to say at the start of this when I got onto this article, is that why this would want to get me into Eurorack, is that I could see this as my first, if I was to get into Eurorack, I could see this as my first thing. It's sort of like the brains of your Eurorack in terms of driving it. So you don't have to have a MIDI keyboard connected to your large rack or whatever, or you could just have a few simple Eurorack instruments and have this connected and have it playing back a beautiful sequence like you just heard in that video there. So that's more or less what it does. Again, we're not going deep dive into everything that it can do. You can do chords as well. And I did watch a few videos last night on it, but let's just quickly go through some of its features here. So Misha has a way of helping you discover new musical ideas, even ones you didn't consciously create. The interval-based approach introduces a new perspective even for a trained musician, but offers the untrained a simple path to creating melodies. Create a simple melody or sequence, change the key and scale, and manipulate the pattern into a whole new creation. See, I like that. Inspired by 12-tone composition, Misha's sequence expands upon the tone row technique, allowing for new paths of spontaneous creativity. Modify your sequence using some of the classic techniques such as prime, retrograde, or inverted playback, or completely rearrange your sequence in unpredictable and exciting ways. And you got 100 scales. So Misha comes preloaded with a variety of scales ranging from typical Western scales, microtonal scales, scales that use just intonation, and everything in between. Additionally, 2 banks of user scales allow you to upload your own scales using the scalar format for further experimentation. And it's got a loaded with the new sequence, new keys, scales, and more on the fly using presets. Presets can be accessed from the dedicated preset menu or can be loaded via MIDI program changes from external devices, allowing Misha to be an essential piece of gear for live performances. Compatibility-wise, integrate Misha into your Eurorack system using the 3 pairs of TGCV inputs and outputs, or connect to your DAW or synths with a sequencer via MIDI. So you could, that's what I'm saying, if you didn't have any Eurorack gear, you could just have the Misha, and it could just be driving your synthesizers in your studio for now until you build up your Eurorack gear. So now I'm interested in Eurorack. This has got me interested because this device, it seems cool. It seems really cool. So you got MIDI and CV inputs, MIDI, note, CC, maps, and 3 pairs of CV inputs can be customized to a wide range of functions such as transportation, translation, randomization, loading keys, scales, sequences, transport control, and much more. And you get USB keyboard mapping, play Misha's intervals from your favorite MIDI keyboard or device and create a custom MIDI mapping or suite to your needs. You can also play Misha using a USB computer keyboard using custom mappings and assignable buttons. Easily assign Misha's 4 user buttons to play intervals or other convenient functions such as octave up, down, chromatic steps, and more. So it's an innovative 28 HP Eurorack instrument that utilizes a unique interval-based approach to playing and creating melodies. It can make sounds 3 ways via MIDI, control voltage, with 3 independent gate CV pairs or outputting waveform via the output jack, external control templates for MIDI and QWERTY keyboards, hundreds factory scales, tone row based sequencer, comprehensive control, creative rhythmic variation. You name it, you name the drill, it has it here on Misha. Absolutely exciting piece of hardware that just dropped this week and phenomenal. I think you should check it out. I think if you want a new sort of creative way to play your instruments, or you're interested in getting into Eurorack and you like sequences, you like randomization, I think this is really going to float your boat. Eventide's Misha. What a cool, innovative, nice little piece of hardware drop that just happened in this last week. That's going to wrap it up for our podcast. I hope it was interesting. I mean, I know it was a bit of a quieter week, but there was a few drops there. There was a few new drops there. What do you think of Waves Harmony or the Fog Convolver? I know we didn't have any demos back on the Fog Convolver, but it is an IR convolution reverb, so it's going to sound amazing, and being that it's audio thang, we know it's going to be good. How did you think of those deals, UAD? You're going to check that out, Universal Audio. I mean, that is a bonkers deal. The whole kit and caboodle, 62 universal audio plugins for $1,000. I think that's pretty nuts. And yeah, just let us know what you thought about the podcast. Leave a comment down below if you liked any of the topics we covered today. We'll be back next week, of course, as we do on the Emlyn in the Mix podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. If you want to support the channel, you can. Support link down below. Or if you want to check out the Native Instruments Massive X drop number 5, affiliate link down below if you want to get your hands on some ravey sort of expansions for Massive X. All right, guys, till next week. I'll be back then. Peace out. Boom.